we all have to keep our eye on what the mission here is. The mission is nothing short of revolution.
Enough putting people to sleep already. It's time we finally woke them up.
It is my pleasure to introduce for all of you the next President of the United States of America. Let's hear it for Dave Smith!
Thank you, sir. Reno!
This is Dave Smith, and all indicators are that he's going to be running for president in 2024. And when he does, watch out.
Man. Now that's the fucking revolution energy right there.
Over the past few months, I've spent countless hours diving into what was going on here. And it all stemmed from this clip on the Joe Rogan Experience.
But if you just zoom out a little bit more, and you're like, okay, but what really happened here? And why were the right-wingers willing to go with Donald Trump? And why are they willing to storm the Capitol?
Right.
And even if it's just a few hundred storming, the rest of them at least protesting, and tens of millions don't believe the election was legitimate at all. And why do they have such little faith in all of these institutions? And I think, again, you could zoom back very far, but just keeping it in the last 20 years, it's like, well, look at everything.
Yeah.
Look at what everything was. They fought all of these wars that everyone knows are bullshit. They've robbed the American people and just given all the money to huge corporations, the big banks. We have just incredible levels of corruption. I mean, just like baked into the cake now, where we have the society where there's like crazy low interest rates and crazy high government spending. So all of the new wealth, I mean, Bernie Sanders nails it when he talks about this, although I don't think he looks at those as the reasons. But it's like all of the new wealth coming in disproportionately goes to the top. The whole system is completely skewed toward the already powerful because you have low interest rates. So now you have a whole speculating economy where everyone's got to get in investments and stocks and bonds and try to make money that way. And so, of course, the Wall Street speculators make crazy profits. And then if they fail, they get bailed out. And you have record high government spending, so the politically connected are getting all of this fucking money. So regular people are just more and more starting to realize, like, hey, this whole system is bullshit. And fuck it, I don't believe it anymore. And I think it bubbled over to a point on both sides, on the left and the right.
But then there's like, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, and you're making a lot of sense. But what's the solution?
Okay.
How do you do that at this stage of the game? Because this is crazy.
The solution is libertarianism. And I know that a lot of people, it's easy to just kind of laugh that off or whatever, but this really is, I'm not saying it has to be like my exact perfect, you know, like you have to agree with me on everything, but the clear solution to all of this is liberty.
This is Dave Smith, and he might be your next president. But in order to understand what I'm talking about, we have to go back to 2008. Ron Paul took the world by storm. He brought ideas to the forefront of culture that the mainstream had never heard. He started a revolution. It was a movement of youth. It pulled a lot of people into politics that were fed up with the same old left and right talking points.
You are this hot candidate with kids. You're the most Googled. You're big on the internet.
Ron Paul is a big deal online, no?
Yeah, I'm hearing from his supporters in my email.
There is an organized cadre of his devotees out there that flood the email servers.
His followers were unlike anything the mainstream media had seen. They were absolutely radical.
Time to announce who you think won tonight's Republican debate. The winner is Ron Paul with 32%.
Every single thing that comes out of his mouth, I go, yeah. You are going to feel the wrath of some serious followers.
But it's a kind of an American phenomenon, but I think he's tapping into something that, thank God, is still there in America, which is a lot of distaste for the kind of cookie-cutter stuff of the major parties.
The Ron Paul campaign and its supporters kept breaking fundraising records. Having drawn media attention for amassing $5.2 million in fundraising during the third quarter, the Ron Paul campaign quickly raised the ante and challenged its supporters to raise $12 million in the fourth quarter, a lofty goal no one expected them to reach. Yet Ron Paul's loyal supporters answered the call, putting together a grassroots effort to help the candidate meet the lofty goal.
One candidate, without a lot of fanfare, continues to break fundraising records. That candidate is Ron Paul.
What do you make of this?
Well, and the source of the money is to me what's interesting. He got it from 35,000 small, comparatively small contributors.
He gained support from those in the military while opposing the war in Iraq.
They attack us because we've been over there. We've been bombing Iraq for 10 years.
Who does the military love?
The #1 fundraiser from military personnel, Congressman Ron Paul of the 14th Congressional District of Texas.
Well, and as history would have it, Ron Paul lost in the Republican primaries in 2008, and that led to John McCain becoming the Republican presidential candidate. However, it sparked a movement of ideas. It started a youth movement centered around liberty. Ideas of ending pointless wars, ideas of ending the Fed, ideas of individual freedoms, and not allowing the state to encroach on your freedoms. Okay, so back to this guy. Dave Smith was a New York comic in his mid-30s, and he watched as the Ron Paul movement took force. I mean, he woke up to a new way of thinking. This guy ate, slept, and breathed this stuff. It consumed him. Dave wasn't really a political person for that. I mean, he was a comic, he told jokes, and he hated PC culture, and Ron Paul's message really resonated with him. So he started a podcast.
We need to roll back the state. We spy on all of our own citizens. Our prisons are flooded with nonviolent drug offenders. If you want to know who America's next enemy is, look at who we're funding right now. Every single one of these problems are a result of government being way too big.
You're listening to Part of the Problem on the Gas Digital Network. Here's your host, Dave Smith.
His pirate radio was attacking corruption on every episode. He was doing debate after debate and completely demolishing everyone in his way. Dave was all in on the liberty movement, and he wanted to do more. There was a political party that stood for those same principles Ron Paul did. That was the Libertarian Party. But when he looked a little bit closer, this is what he found.
The body to consider that the Libertarian Party acquire a mascot. And I would like to propose Dobby from the Harry Potter series, who in the 7th book says, Dobby has no master. Dobby is a free elf, and Dobby has come to save Harry Potter and his friends.
I object. I object to being insulted from that podium. I am no Kool-Aid drinker.
Jesus told me to make mandatory gay.
The Libertarian Party has been in shambles for the last couple of decades. It's become more of a social group for weirdos than a reputable political party.
This is what it is. The Libertarian Party is a mechanism for lowest status people to have some modicum of respect and do something with their lives.
And then you've got disastrous moments like this one from their presidential candidates.
I think I could stand up there for the whole debate and not say anything and emerge as a leader.
He didn't help his chances earlier this month on MSNBC's The Coffee Joe Morning Show when Coffee Joe Barnacle asked him his position on the epicenter of the Syrian refugee crisis, Aleppo.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
Yes. Obviously, he's just kidding. It's a joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? 400,000 refugees.
You See, the Libertarian Party was the party of guys like Ron Paul and Harry Brown. It was founded on certain principles like private property, individual freedom, limiting the stranglehold the government has on it. It was anti-elites, anti-establishment. Slowly and slowly, they strayed till all of a sudden it was unrecognizable. They were pumping out failed candidate after failed candidate. It was time for a shakeup.
My name is Michael Heiss. I am the founder and chair of the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus and Mises PAC. My involvement in libertarianism and the liberty movement, I'm a product of the Ron Paul revolution. And that experience was very high energy, very electric, very unifying, and very effective as well. And by the time 2015 came around, I was involved in the Libertarian Party, supported Gary Johnson, and the experience of the Gary Johnson campaign as opposed to the Ron Paul revolution was just like a night and day experience. The Gary Johnson campaign was much more low energy, a lot less passion, a lot less resources, a lot less people knowing what they're doing. It was just missing the spirit that characterized the Ron Paul revolution. So in the aftermath of the Gary Johnson campaign, I started conceptualizing the idea of the Mises Caucus as a means of bringing the liberty movement and the Ron Paul revolution into the party to kind of get that spirit back.
The Mises Caucus was the children of the Ron Paul Revolution. Michael Heiss and Dave Smith and a few others joined forces to try and wake up the party.
You start realizing that it's like, oh, okay, we have the two most unliked candidates in the history of the world. And then there's this third party that bears our name and has a lot of good people in it. So I started kind of giving that a look. And then I found this Michael Heiss guy, and I was like, holy shit, like this guy's really inspiring me. And I realized that the points that Ron Paul made back in 2008 about getting on the debate stages and the rules being rigged against you, it's a different world in 2021 than it was in 2008. What do I care about getting on a debate stage? I can go on Joe Rogan's show and Tim Pool's show and Jimmy Dore's show. I don't care. You can not let me in all you want to. We're bigger. We have alternative avenues now that are bigger than any of that. So I would just say to the libertarians out there, come be a part of this. We can all kind of like link arms and join forces and make this something, meaningful.
They were met with opposition from a faction in the Libertarian Party called the Prague Caucus. Some entrenched libertarians deliberately tried to sabotage Dave in the Mises Caucus. The opposition was led by this guy. This is Nick Sarwark, former chair of the Libertarian Party. He quickly made Dave his public enemy number one, and he was going to do whatever he could to shut down the Mises Caucus. They represented a new direction, a boldness, and he took that as a threat. From day one, Sarwark and the Prague Caucus led in a smear campaign against Dave in the Mises Caucus. So Dave invited him to the debate stage.
You get people to take baby steps towards you. You don't get them to eat the whole elephant all at once. That's not how politics works.
Right now, libertarianism is considered a joke. And it's because it kind of is. Because we put a candidate up, Gary Johnson, who did ridiculous stuff, couldn't remember names and places, and the whole thing was just absurd.
Dave doesn't care about politics, and a lot of libertarians don't care about politics. But politics is what the party does.
I think the libertarian nominee should be a libertarian. That's my purity test. I don't think they should be a war hawk. By the way, Bill Weld was a fucking lobbyist for Raytheon.
Because we are not in the educating business. We are not in the think tank business. We are not in the business of creating a different culture. We are not in the podcasting business. We are in the business of running people for public office in order to change public policy to do nothing more or less than set the world free in our lifetime.
We libertarians are the inheritors of an exceptionally venerable tradition of ideas that is noble and beautiful, and that carries with it a grave responsibility. We must be true to that inheritance. Enough putting people to sleep already. It's time we finally woke them up. Thank you.
It was clear now that this was a war. Dave Smith and the Mises Caucus were set on a mission to take over the party. The Prague Caucus was going to use every tactic they had to make sure they stayed in power.
What's paramount to me is liberty. as Michael Heiss has said from the very beginning of this whole thing, to get the libertarian movement into the Libertarian Party.
I think they are going to be successful in terms of taking over the Libertarian Party. I think the writing is on the wall as far as that.
We are the Ron Paul army, and we are here to make the Libertarian Party a force.
Who was the Libertarian candidate today? Who would you go for as Dave Smotz?
The Mises Caucus Libertarian Party dominance. I really think that we are going to de-wokeify the LP, the Mises Caucus and the Libertarian Party.
All right. Thank you. Wow.
To just see the mass hysteria and delusional thinking. This country is on a goddamn suicide mission. I'm not being hyperbolic. We're on a fucking suicide mission right now. The takeover will be completed in the next couple of years. It's a libertarian takeover of the Libertarian Party.
That would be the greatest thing we have seen in politics in my lifetime.
To me, the takeover represents the libertarian movement coming in and taking over the Libertarian Party.
What, the Mises Caucus?
Exactly. Yes.
Dave Smith.
They're the only good thing as far as I'm concerned.
So how exactly do you take over the party anyway? Well, the Libertarian Party is made up of representatives from the state parties. Those representatives are called delegates. Each state holds a convention and elects these delegates. The number of delegates is based on the party membership and presidential vote totals. Every 2 years, there's a convention where they elect the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. The Mises Caucus chair is Angela McArdle, so they had to go state by state and win these conventions. The takeover wasn't going to be easy, though. The top of the party was ripe with corruption and would try every trick in the book to stop them. Their first real attempt was in Pennsylvania.
Somebody's got a clear conflict of interest. The guy who's running for office, who's running the credentialing, that's a clear conflict of interest, and you can't tell people they can't register. This is shady.
What I ran into that morning was people saying, well, no, I have been a 180-day member and I'm a registered libertarian, but they're saying that I'm not registered. They're saying that in the database that they are not registered libertarians, even though they have emails from the state showing that they registered libertarian.
So I had to go onto that computer and type in my name or my driver's license number, and it shows up with my registration. I don't know why that computer, that database is getting it, but their database isn't. Makes no sense. And it's not showing your name when you put in your things. I don't know if they're going to try to screw people over that way.
They also brought in people from out of state to stack the deck in their favor.
There's haters from Mississippi, Illinois, Michigan, New York. Every hater in the country is here because I'm telling you, this is the Alamo. If we win here today, it's over for national, and they know it.
Namely, because of a certain faction that has publicly stated takeover, takeover, takeover. And the people who have been in this party for a long time do not wish to just hand it over to those people that want to come and take over. There are more registered for this convention that are less than 180 days. That means they haven't even been to a meeting with the state board, let alone have any stake in this party. I do not get any people under 180 days. Let me speak. Shut the hell up.
Let her go! 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 Let her go!
The corruption got even worse in New Hampshire.
What's going on with the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire? So Dave Smith, he is a big member of the Libertarian Party, and his followers are something called the Mises Caucus. So they are the more radical of the libertarians, right? He's brought a lot of energy to the Libertarian Party, which has historically and correctly been regarded as a joke. State by state, they've had these conventions, and they've been electing their slates for delegates, whatever the position is, and the Mecox people have been running the table, because he's just bringing all the energy, and it's all these kind of like lowest status people who have nothing to bring to the table other than this is their chance to be members of the party. They won in New Hampshire. New Hampshire, of all the states, that's the home of the Free State Project. That's where all the hardcore libertarians move to, and people can look up the Free State Project. It's a great idea. I highly encourage people to look it up. What happened was, what was the woman's name? She's Gigi. I sent you the woman who's the head of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. Unilaterally said
Gilletta Jarvis?
Gilletta Jarvis. She was their candidate for governor. She basically said everyone who was in the Libertarian Party previously is now not part of the Libertarian Party. I am the Libertarian Party. I'm going to pass a new series of bylaws unilaterally. No one vote on them. I am going to extend my term to 4 years. No one vote on this. And now this is the new LP, and you guys are not the LP. This was a huge drama. It's like you just stole the entire thing. The Libertarian National Committee had a meeting on YouTube. You could go look it up a couple of days ago. They voted, and they basically endorsed what she did. Now the guy who's the head of the Libertarian Party, John Bishop Henchman, I think is his name, he sent out a letter, and he says, anyone who casts aspersions on my integrity, blah, 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 is setting themselves up for legal action, just so you're warned. And people are like, wait, you're the head of the Libertarian Party, very arguably a public figure, and you're threatening lawsuits against fellow libertarians? But apparently I got a message from Dave that they completely lost and everything's getting handed over right now.
Karen Ann Harlos, the secretary of the LNC, exposed the corruption in New Hampshire.
Outrageous.
Karen Ann, I'm not sure that we can yet.
Yeah, I believe you can. So we'll let the Judicial Committee decide that. Okay. We have stolen data. Shame on you all.
But anyway, to Karen Ann Harlos, so she's on the LNC, and she's just objective and has some integrity. So as soon as she saw this happening, she was like, whoa, this is crazy. And she got recorded interviews with everybody involved. And this was huge because
when did this happen?
This happened right away. Now, Joe Bishop Henchman wouldn't do it. He was smart enough for that. But the state chairwoman sat down and answered questions.
With Gilletta Jarvis?
Yes, Gilletta Jarvis answered questions. And her explanation completely contradicted what Joe Bishop Henchman said in the meeting, which is that he knew about the plan. He signed the letter with the intention for the plan. This wasn't even her idea. Other people told her to do it. Then there was a massive public pressure campaign, which I was really going crazy on Twitter. And then when you did the Tim Pool video, it was like, and the fact that Tim put the clip out on his YouTube channel, like it was just, they were just being swarmed with people. And then Josh Smith, who's a great dude, who's also, he's an at-large, also on the LNC. He put a motion forward to release all of the correspondence between Joe Bishop Henchman and Gilletta Jarvis. And Joe Bishop Henchman resigned like an hour later and just left. And on the way out, he passed a motion to, clearly out of revenge, to kick Karen Ann Harlos out of her position as the treasury.
So after that, the chair of the LNC resigned, and the momentum of the Mises Caucus was incredible. They kept winning election after election, and everything was building up to Reno. The corrupt members of the party were trying everything that they could to stop the takeover. It was going to be really close. The Mises Caucus was growing fast. Was it enough for the takeover? And what other tricks were they going to pull?
I feel. Hey!
You just walked right into He just threw his shoulder into me.
Sir.
This dude has unauthorized recording, and Steve Michaela is Rad. Walk away, Rad. Walk away, Fed.
Like, as the votes were coming in, like, he's sitting there spurting out.
Oh, I mean, worse than that. I mean, he was like jumping up to the microphone and raising objections and proposing motions. But I mean, the numbers were like overwhelmingly in our favor. So he'd propose something. 80% of the room would say no, it'd fail. He'd try again. At one point, he ran past someone and like very lightly bumped shoulders with them and started shrieking about how he had been assaulted and he wanted security to accompany him past this guy again and that it was a coordinated attack. I mean, he melted down pretty bad, which is, it was all so bizarre to me. I don't understand any of it. Like, once you saw that like 80% of the room was against you, you could just leave. Like, you don't have to do this to yourself. The whole thing was strange.
Congratulations, incoming chair McCartney.
The results were overwhelming. Not only did they win the chair seat, but every single seat was won by someone who was endorsed by the Mises Caucus.
And we took every single seat, if I'm not mistaken. Is it every single one?
Every seat.
So I think by most political analysis, that would be considered a landslide. Did it go as well as you had thought?
It was a landslide mixed with an avalanche.
My favorite moment from the weekend was the redemption arc of Karen Ann Harlos. You know, the lady who exposed the corruption in New Hampshire and was kicked out as secretary?
It was my deepest honor to defend Delaware. It was my deepest honor to defend New Hampshire. It was my deepest honor right now to continue to defend Massachusetts. And let me tell you, if tomorrow you need my help, it doesn't matter whether I agree with you now, it would be my deepest honor to defend you. When you guys elected me in 2020, that position was precious to me. And when I defended New Hampshire, I knew it would cost me my position. And I did it anyway. And I would do it again. When you actually are facing something that you know is going to cost you dearly, something you love, I am grateful I passed the test, because we have a bigger test. The state can take away everything. Are we ready to face that test? I hope I am. I hope you are. And I want to be by your side when that test comes. I am asking you, if you weren't here in 2020, for your vote now. And if you were here in 2020, I'm asking you to take back the vote that was stolen from you by the leadership who had no right to do that.
Today, we elect the preserver of this party's history and honor what has come before us. Today, we defend the woman who has defended each and every one of us, restoring her to a position that she has earned and will continue to show that she has deserved. She has given voice to members finding themselves out of favor with the party elite, and she is a champion for affiliates subjected to fraud, trickery, and the same politics that we all claim to be sick of. When I think of people who poured their soul into the battle that our party fought, I think of the countless hours and the critical counsel offered by no one other than Karen Ann Harlos.
Back, bitches!
If we want to live in a free society, step number one is getting a lot more people who want to live in a free society. And we can get a lot more. And now what we've got is the third political party in America. Okay, it's third by a long shot, but still, the third political party in America that bears the name Libertarian is now run by great libertarians. So the point is that we had a big opportunity in 2016 and we blew it. We had a big opportunity in 2020 and we blew it. We will not blow the next big opportunity that we have. That's what the Mises Caucus has set the Libertarian Party up to be.